Throughout the 2019-20 season, I've been talking about players who've been having questionable seasons. And in this video, we're gonna continue that. So in this video, we're gonna take a look at 4 more young players who surprisingly regressed, whether their role changed or simply they're shooting a lot worse, or maybe it's something else. It's been a turbulent season for these guys. Anyway, how's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and without further ado, let's begin. But before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers a wide array of courses. With so much to explore, real projects to create, and the support of fellow creatives, Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth. It offers classes that include illustration, graphic design, web development, marketing, creative writing, and much, much more. Personally, I've always loved digital art, so I'd recommend the classes on graphic design or illustration, like Digital Illustration by Jerem Vogel. Skillshare is also very affordable compared to pricey in-person classes and workshops. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. The first 500 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get 2 months of free premium membership. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. First, let's start with Gary Harris. Back in 2017, he was improving at a ridiculous trajectory, quickly working his way up the ranks among the best shooting guards in the league. His combination of defense, versatility, excellent shooting, and all-around improvement turned him into a franchise cornerstone. Alongside Nikola Jokic, the two of them were expected to lead the team back into prominence. Although Jokic has turned into a star, Harris has drastically regressed over the last few years. Part of it was due to injuries, and part of it was because of a reduced role. Now, he's been starting and playing the majority of their games, yet offensively, he's been having his worst season since his rookie year. Surely, there has to be something else going on, right? From the eye test, defensively, he's still their most important perimeter defender, and routinely guards the opposing team's best wing players. Honestly, he hasn't lost a step on that end of the court, and his defense always stood out among the crowd. Still, his decline offensively has been the major story of the Nuggets season. Perhaps the drop in usage rate is part of it, as he's now averaging the lowest of his career. His number of shots per game has also decreased. For a guy like Harris, who scores most of his points off of assisted shots, it makes sense why he's been struggling with fewer touches and a lower involvement in the offense. For most of his young career, he has been relatively streaky. The other possibility is that he simply has not fully recovered yet. Throughout the previous year, 2018-19, Harris suffered multiple injuries. A right hip injury, hamstring injuries, adductor strains. Those are terrible injuries and greatly affects a player's balance and lift on their jump shot. While they're not as traumatizing as knee injuries, they can linger for much longer. And I'd say that's the main reason why Harris has been shooting so poorly. With all that being said, his teammates, his coaches, they're all rooting for him. They haven't benched him, nor do they plan on doing so. If the Nuggets want to make a deep playoff run, they need Harris to work his way back into form. Next up, Kevin Knox. Now, I'm aware that Knox is just a sophomore, but he's certainly contributing a lot less than last year, when he was a rookie. It's hilarious to see other Knicks fans panicking and already calling him a bust. But I mean, it's way too early. Statistically, he looks bad, but most of that has to do with him coming off the bench now, playing fewer minutes and kinda just standing around and watching Marcus Morris take all the shots. That was before the trade deadline. Basically, Morris was the leading scorer and was having a career season before he got traded. But the problem is, why did the Knicks even give Morris all that playing time in the first place? The team isn't gonna make the playoffs, not even close. It would have been better to play Knox more minutes, so he can naturally get more opportunities to develop and improve on the court. It would have been good to see how he looks when paired up with RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. Unfortunately, for most of the season, it wasn't like that. I don't think Knox got tremendously worse, cause he was already pretty terrible. But as a 20-year-old sophomore, I think he's just a young player who's been inconsistent due to his inconsistent role. The coaches and the organization don't know what to do with him. His defense is bad, his shooting is abysmal. Despite being a strong 6'7", 220 pounds, he finishes at the rim at an absurdly bad percentage at 58%. The Knicks' lack of shooters means that he has no space whatsoever and he gets suffocated in the paint whenever he tries to attack. According to an article by Sports Illustrated, it states, "Almost every offensive issue with this team comes back to the lack of strong perimeter shooters on the roster, so this might not have an easy fix, at least not this season." That said, as the team prepares to dip their toe into the trade waters, if there was any way to acquire one more playable shooter, the domino effect would be significant. So, while I'm all on board the Kevin Knox sucks bandwagon, he's literally in the worst situation possible. It's hard to tell if this is entirely his fault or if the team is just so incompetent and set him up for failure. Next up, Kyle Kuzma. Now, Kuzma's regression is primarily due to his new role. Previously in 2018-19, he was the full-time starter and the second leading scorer on the team behind LeBron. But now, with the addition of Anthony Davis, the Lakers have gotten much better. But Kuzma has seen drastically fewer touches and minutes. He's now the backup forward, which is a role that he initially did not like because he believed he was a starting caliber player. However, now that the Lakers have been winning tremendously, those talks of wanting a bigger role has faded out. Kuzma's game has not gotten significantly worse. His per 36-minute stats are relatively similar. The issue is that the Lakers have tried to throw him into different positions throughout the year, even spending a decent number of games playing him at center. It led to some really bad months that saw him having a hard time adapting. Then at the trade deadline, there were many rumors surrounding him, because during a bad stretch of games, the organization and the fans believed he was expendable. When Kuzma was asked about these rumors, he was frustrated and stated, "It's tough having injuries and trying to, for another year, figure out how to play with new teammates, how to find a role. I've dealt with it. It's always a progress and a marathon." That's what I like to say. It's going to take some time just carving my own niche. And with the arrival of LeBron and AD, we've seen most of their young players get traded away. Kuzma is one of the few remaining, and he's lost his identity, despite an excellent first 2 seasons. And finally, Stanley Johnson. It felt like yesterday when the young Stanley Johnson was coming into the NBA, a guy who was once touted as the 3rd best player of his college recruiting class, and the eventual 8th pick of the 2015 NBA draft. The player comparisons of him included Kawhi Leonard and Ron Artest, 2 of the best wing defenders of all time. These were ridiculous expectations to live up to, but the hype was real. At 6'6", 245 pounds, Stan is a freaking tank, and showed a lot of potential early on. He was a bulldog on defense and aggressively hounded every player he went up against. As a 19-year-old rookie in the 2016 playoffs, he drew a lot of praise for his efforts guarding LeBron James. However, his offense was a work in progress, but over the last few years, he has not improved whatsoever. His years in Detroit were very unimpactful as the team was stuck in no man's land for a long time. But even with a fresh start in New Orleans and then Toronto, Stanley has not been part of the rotation. He's barely even playing anymore, just spending his time warming the bench and rotting away. What on earth happened to him? Well, he's simply a good example of a defensive stud who never improved offensively. You see a lot of guys like him. In fact, his offense is so bad that he currently has the lowest career individual offensive rating in the NBA right now, at just 91.6. That's even worse than Kevin Knox, and Stanley has been in the NBA for a lot longer. Basically, whenever he's on the floor, his team's offense becomes absolutely putrid. By the numbers, Stanley is objectively the worst offensive player in the league. His rather above-average defense does not make up for how bad he is at shooting, dribbling, cutting, anything that involves touching the ball. He makes Andre Robertson look like Michael Jordan, and Robertson has been injured for 2 years. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 4 young NBA studs who, unfortunately, have fallen off. Some fall-offs are more drastic than others, and at this point of their careers, it's unlikely they'll recover unless a change of role or a change of scenery happens. Perhaps they do need a fresh start. Let me know your thoughts on these guys in the comment section. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.